What's going on to my positivity posse? Welcome to another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV. We have Walt McKinley here. He's about to drop some golden nuggets for you. Walt, what do you have to say to the people before we get started with the episode today?
First of all, I love the positivity posse, and second of all, we're not even here to motivate or inspire. We're giving people the belief that their history doesn't define their legacy, and I can't wait to get into this conversation with you, Dano. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. I can't wait for this episode, Walt. Thank you so much for being here. And let's get started with Weekly Dose of Dano TV. Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV with your host, your boy Dano here, bringing you the best content that you're going to find on the internet. And I promise you, this is the best content because we talk about the real life stuff here on Weekly Dose of Dano TV. And when I say that real life talk, we're talking about that real life talk. You know what I mean? All the ups, all the downs, all the beauties, all the imperfections, and everything in between in order to give you the tools and maybe some pieces of advice that you need in order to level up and take that next step in your life. Or maybe just to, hear somebody's story just to see if they might be going through the same things that you're going through, because you are not alone in this world. First and foremost, please don't ever get fooled into thinking that you can't reach out to anybody. There's all different types of services, programs. Hey, you can even reach out to me, and I'm pretty sure you can reach out to Walt too. Sorry, Walt, I'm just throwing you in there as well. I didn't even know, but look, he's giving me the clap. So that's how you know that you always have somebody to reach out to. So thank you so much for everybody watching right now, whether you're watching live or on the replay. If you're watching from the US, if you're watching from Australia, wherever you're watching, thank you so much. But if you're watching this right now, I need you to do me a favor, and I need you to drop a hashtag positivity posse, just so that I know you guys, here it is right here, just so I know that you guys are rocking with the content, that you're listening, you're throwing in your positive energy and vibrations into the episode to make this the best that it can be. You know what I mean? Because why are you going to do something halfway through? That's not the way to do it. So drop a hashtag positivity posse. And you guys let me see. Look, you guys already did it before I even said it. That's how I know you guys are absolutely amazing. So Christopher, thank you for dropping that. Hello to you. Jeanette, thank you for that. Lou, thank you for that. You guys are all absolutely amazing. And I'm going to say it again. Thank you so much for being here for today. Now, Walt has had a pretty incredible life, to say the least. There's been so many different things and obstacles that he's had to overcome. Did you hear how I didn't say anything negative? They're obstacles, because you can get through whatever it is that you're going through right now. You may not see the light at the end of the tunnel, or hopefully you do. But even if you can't, we're going to help you try to see, try to find that light at the end of the tunnel, because if you can't find it, then you got to make it yourself. And I know that sounds like a cliche, and I know it sounds, like stereotypical, just to say, oh, something positive. No, it definitely is the truth. So I'm just so happy to be able to bring this content to you guys. Here we go. My guy, Ryan O'Neal, and all caps with that positivity posse. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you so much, guys. Football is back. Yes, I gotta keep up with it. I haven't been doing fantasy football, but go Eagles, man! I'm gonna be there on the opening day to support my Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly! They're my team. I'm from Philly, so that's my. Well, I'm not from Philly, but I'm around Philly, so that's my team. I support all Philadelphia teams. So we got so much that we have to cover in such a little bit amount of time. An hour is really not a long time. So let's get started with the program. You already know what we got to do in order to start this program. It is the affirmations for happiness. I'm going to just pick a random page in the book. And every single time that I do pick a page in this book, it automatically, I know, even if it's for me, if it's for Walt or anybody watching, this will help you for today, because it's just what it is. Like every time I open to a page, I know that it's helping somebody. It always helps me. So. All right, let's see. All right, let's see. You know what? I like this one, number 38. So we're going to go with 38. And here it is. I craft my stories wisely and with intention. I'm going to repeat that again. Number 38. I craft my stories wisely and with intention. As I become witness to my inner world, I choose only to create stories, aka meanings I assign to events in my life that feel good to me. I know which stories help me experience ease and happiness, and which stories hurt me by how they make me feel. Self-empowerment starts in my mind, and with the meanings I assign things to. 1000%, I claim that. Make sure that you're giving yourself that positive self-talk, and whatever it is that you're assigning to yourself, make sure you're giving it a significant assignment. And not everything needs your attention, and not everything needs your importance. And I'm going to say that specifically to with people, what people say to you, or what other stories people are talking about you. Don't give that stuff your attention, and don't give that stuff any meaning into your life, because it's all meaningless. Number one, I always say that sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me. And it's just so true. Don't give that's all noise, man. You don't need to give any of that meaning. What you need to focus on is the stories that you're telling yourself, and how you're talking to yourself as well. I love Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Hey, there you go. There's a story. And there's always a message behind these stories as well. Speak the positive stories 1000%. So now moving on to the next segment. I hope that helped everybody. And I know that helps somebody out there, because I know it helped me too. That's been a big thing in my world, is intention. So we're going to go to the weekly clip. And if you haven't, this may be your first time watching. So I'll go onto the streets of Philly, and I'll ask people the questions that you need the answers to. And you're going to hear me say that in the beginning of the episode, or of the segment. So here it is. Without further ado, let's play this segment. Let's go. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Dano, television show host of Weekly Dose of Dano TV, and you already know what we're doing for today. We're going around the streets of Philly, asking everybody the questions that you need the answers to. Let's get it. Sir, what's your name?
Wayne.
Can you tell us about one time that somebody did an act of kindness for you that you'll never forget?
A police officer did. One day they saw me running for the bus, and they told me to get in the car, and they helped me catch up the bus, and I got to work on time.
And why is that the first thing that comes to your mind? What's so special about that story?
Because that's the second time a police officer gave me a ride in the car. The first time the police officer gave me a ride to church. So there's a lot of people out here do a lot of good. And I know the police officers do a lot of crazy stuff, but you got a few bad apples, you can't put them all in the same boat. There's a lot of good-natured people out here in this world. There's just a lot of crazy stuff in between, that's all.
Name?
Olivia.
Can you tell us about a time, about an act of kindness that you'll never forget?
I don't know. Is it bad that I can't think of one?
No. Or what about, we can switch it up. Can you tell us about a time that you did an act of kindness for somebody?
The only thing I can think of right now is when, like, you let someone, like, pass you on, like, the road. Like, driving, I don't know. Like, when you're nice to someone on the road, I feel like that's the nicest you can possibly be, is when you're, like, nice to somebody driving, like, the highway.
And why do you say that?
Because people are the worst on the highway, so.
What's your name?
I'm Ellie.
Can you tell us about an act of kindness that was done to you that you'll never forget?
I guess this one, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it is. This happened to me in high school. I had like a horrible day. It was like the longest day of my life. So much homework, so much stress. And I think my friends knew that I was going through it, and I didn't really ask them for help, and I didn't really tell them what was going on. And when I got home, they had gotten me takeout from my favorite restaurant, and it was just waiting for me there. And they weren't even there because they knew I was overwhelmed, but just them doing that for me without me knowing really meant the world. And
why does that mean the world for you?
I think just knowing that your friends have your back and they know what you need, even when you're not prepared to say it, that support really meant a lot to me.
What's your name, sir?
I'm Daniel.
Daniel, I'm Dano. It's nice to meet you. My man, give me one of these. Can you tell us about one act of kindness that was done to you that you'll never forget about?
Yeah, an act of kindness that was done for me was when my dad called me last week, and I really missed my dogs, so he sent me a FaceTime video of my dogs playing, and it was really nice. It was heartwarming, and especially because I haven't seen them in a few months, it really made my day. And I'd like to do that for someone else one day who hasn't seen their dogs in a while.
Awesome, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Wait, can you give him my card for him?
Here you go. This is for you too. This is meant for somebody for today.
It's specifically for him. I feel all the energy coming in.
Thanks. Thank you.
What's your name, sir?
I'm Ben.
Can you tell us about an act that was done to you that you'll never forget?
I think one that I'll never forget is I had like this homework assignment that was due in a day, and I just didn't know how to do anything. And it was like bedtime. It was like probably 12:30 at night. I like literally woke up my friend. I was like, "Can you please help me?" And he like stayed up with me for like 3 hours, just teaching me everything, helping me, just purely out of the kindness of his heart. So I'll always remember that.
So everybody, that was the, oh wait, I gotta turn off the fan. So everybody, that was the street segment for today. And if you let me know about it, let me know about a time that somebody did something nice to you that you'll never forget about in the comments. And now I see Walt, man, he's getting antsy back there because it's time to bring Walt to get on the show. He's rubbing his hands. He's ready to come on. So everybody, please, when I go back to watch this replay, please spam the hearts, spam the likes for Walt, because his story, I'm telling you guys, this is very powerful stuff that you're about to hear. So everybody, please leave a comment and welcome Walt. Man, Walt, what are you doing, man? Stop working on your speeches on the stage. It's time to come on the show. What?
Yo.
How's everything? How's your day?
Oh, man, my day is great. Even more blessed since I'm here with you, Dano. I absolutely love the segment. I went back and watched some of your shows, too. I love the segment on just spreading positivity. Because good Lord, this world needs it right now. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah. And that's what we're doing here today. So I'm just so grateful that you're here today as well. And thank you for sharing an hour every time to come on and speak to the Positivity Posse, just to, share your story. And I remember we were on the phone yesterday, and we were talking about transparency, right? So we're going to get right into it just to give you a heads up. We were talking about transparency, and you say that, the reason that you're so open with your story is because there's power and transparency. Can you talk about exactly what type of power is held inside of transparency?
Yeah, I think for me, transparency allows you to live in vulnerability and truly into your authentic self. And I don't think we're ever really happy unless we're doing those things. And I'll tell you a little clip on what really had me step into my story in a different way. And I know we're going to get into that. But I met a woman when I was in the Navy leading a group of about 300 as an intel officer. And she was really struggling through some abuse that she had been through. And, she was one of them. I'm a jokester, right? Yeah, I could tell you are too. So I'm a jokester. She's walking past my desk and I'm like, oh, she's gonna walk past me 3 times and not say nothing to me. And she was the one to give me a hard time before I could even open my mouth half the time. And she said, I'm not doing good. And, we kind of took a walk. I talked to her about some of the things, just transparent, right? About some of the things I had been through in my life and the abuses and traumas I had endured. And what that did is that opened up a safe space for her to start talking about what was really bothering her, what was poisoning her soul, and really getting her to the point of wanting to take her own life. And, she came and found me a year later. I got her some help. She came and found me a year later. And man, I still get choked up every time I tell this story. It's been like 15 years. She sat me down in the organization I was at, and she said, hey, I've always wanted to tell you, you're the first man that never wanted something from me, that just wanted to help. And she said, what you didn't know was that day I was going to take my life because I was sexually abused a lot of my life by multiple men. And I had a new daughter and I couldn't rectify how my mother would let that kind of stuff happen. And she goes, and I wasn't going to be here. And she was like, and I get choked up. And, normally I don't even like really stutter, but I just even stutter telling the story, because what she didn't realize in the moment where my transparency with the things I had been through opened up a safe space so she could share her story. What she didn't realize in that moment, Dano, as much as she felt like I saved her life, she changed mine that day. And from that day moving forward in my life, I have shared my story very openly, very authentically, very candidly on top of it, to truly teach people their history doesn't define their legacy, and where they start in life doesn't have to be where they finish. And that's why I said at the beginning of the show, we're here to spread belief. This isn't motivation. This isn't inspiration. This is belief that no matter what you've been through, it's all happened for you in order for you to step into your life's purpose. And the way you are because of the things you've been through will allow you to not only live your best life if you allow it, but it will also allow you to help change other people's lives too. So to me, transparency will change and save people's lives. And that's why it's so important. But we got to start with being transparent with ourselves first.
Of course, and everything that you said, I agree with 1000%. And that's why when we have everybody on the show, whether it's you all or anybody else that comes on, man, we are all about the business and not about the fluff, because fluff you can find anywhere else. But here, it's that sense of, hey, listen, I want to help you out just as much as you want to help me out. So when we come together and have that openness and not build these barriers and these walls, one, you can help people understand that there are people out there that do actually genuinely want to help. And then number two, I just want to talk about that point that you just made about inspiration and motivation. I really don't like to talk about that stuff because, one, I feel like that stuff fades away. And Walt, we come on here to share your journey, and whoever it may be, maybe even me or a guest, or a Positivity Posse member, we are coming on to, like, these are lasting stories. We just don't want it to work for 5 minutes and then go away. This is the stuff that is going to impact the lives of everybody here. And that's just, there's no price that you can put on that. And Walt, I want to just talk about one thing too. It's going to be like a perfect segue into what you just mentioned. And you said, you like to help people, right? And whatever it is, whether it's through your course or whether it's speaking on stage or with your book, whatever it may be, with your story, you could have just learned everything and all the lessons that you learned, kept it to yourself and healed yourself and just say, okay, I got through it. Now I'm just going to go live my life. What is it specifically that inspires you to help people, or why do you even want to take your journey and your lessons and spread it around?
I think it gives them purpose, right, Dano? I was locked in basements. I was chained to beds. I was tortured. I was beat by every adult until I was 16 years old. And what I have found in my story is I feel like God gave me the pain he gave me because he knew I could endure it. He knew I could handle it. But more importantly, he knew that my mindset would be in a position to not only be able to live happily and joyful for myself and have the success that I've had, but most importantly, teach other people how to do that and reach the people that otherwise would be unreachable. I met a man, he heard me on a podcast. He actually called me and had me come on his podcast. And then we met for lunch. And he told me, he said, I've always taken things so personal. Someone could say good morning. And I'm like, good morning. What, you think you're better than me now? Good morning. And I related to it because that's how I used to be. I was an angry late teen and early 20-year-old man living the stereotype of what I should have been. And he goes, you're the first person I met in my life that I felt like, damn, if that guy can find forgiveness. He goes, I was crying as I was editing your episode. Then I know that I can too. And I will tell you, he called me a couple months later and he's like, my wife says I'm so different. This is like a 2-hour conversation. The power is in the collective stories of all of us. Dano, it's in your story. It's in my story. It's in Jeanette's story. It's in Joshua's story. It's in Lou's story. Like the power is in the collective, not the individual. So the more that we make it safe for other people to share, because we're willing to do the same thing and owning our strength and our own vulnerability, the more we can really genuinely change humanity and allow people to do the healing work that they need to do so that we break the generational cycle of abuse that has just permeated our society.
Of course. And, you know, I feel like with all the stories, a lot of people are afraid to speak up and to have that truth because, I don't know, maybe they find complacency in their scars. And some people just like to wallow in their own self-pity. And I know you're so oppositely against that. And just the fact, I mean, think about it, everybody. Think about that one person in your life that came to you and helped change everything for you, whether it's your perspective or change your physical situation, your monetary, so whatever it may be. This is the type of stuff that makes the world go round, and it does inspire the change because not everything is bad nowadays. You will find the good people in this world, but it's just purely about how you set your intentions, and it's purely about what you choose to see in this world. So what we're gonna do like a kind of like a little mini game, or I'm just gonna place a few things on the screen, and I want you to define what these words mean to you, words or pictures. So
okay,
here
let's
we go.
do it.
First one, let's do it.
Intention. So for me, intention about approaching every single situation where I could provide a response versus a triggered reaction how I used to.
Wow. And you know what makes you, why did you come to that conclusion? I mean, there's, you know, can you talk a little bit more about, like, you know, what events brought you to that conclusion?
Yeah. So, you know, after all the abuse, after testifying against my father in court, after trying to get my life back on track, I was still angry, viscerally angry. And although I was super protective of women and children because I felt like they couldn't protect themselves, if you were a guy and you even came at me and tried to punk me even a little bit, I was going to put some hands on you. And I didn't just want to hurt you. I wanted to break your arm. I wanted to just really make you never forget who I was. But although that's an extreme version of that, it was little things. Somebody would say something to me and I would just overreact 10 times what I should have, even if it was hurtful what they said, because the reality was when they said that to me, they're hurting. What they said wasn't even about me, even if it was to me. It said everything about the pain that they were living in and the comfortable miserableness that people live in, that people stay in, and that victim mentality. And I knew if I didn't do something different, I was going to repeat the generational cycle. So I've been married 23 years and I have 2 beautiful teenage daughters, and been with my wife 26. And I knew in order for me, my girlfriend, now my wife of 23 years, but my girlfriend at the time, if I was really going to give her the life she deserved, if I was going to obtain the life I deserve, I had to act with intention and learn how to control my emotions and respond to situations versus react and get out of control. And that took a lot of work, a lot of maturation, and a lot of self-awareness that I just built over time. It's like every time you respond versus react, you raise your life floor, you raise your life ceiling, and you just get better and better and better. And then it's giving yourself grace and forgiveness along the way for those moments when you're not intentional and you do react, to say, hey, this is an opportunity for me to lean in and say, why was I so pissed? There's a piece of me that's not healed yet. Let me figure out what that is so I don't react and I can respond the next time. And you just keep getting better. It's just a journey, bro.
Yep, and it's just like you can equate it to like lifting weights in the gym. At first, it might hurt a little bit, but you will get stronger the more that you practice it. Okay, here's the next one.
Purpose. Oh, that's a big word for me. That's a big word for me. Look, I'll tell you guys, I've had a lot of life success. I'm a retired naval intelligence officer. I went to corporate America for the last 5 years, got promoted 3 times in 4 years. I was an executive in a Fortune 3, had a great marriage, or have a great marriage. I have amazing daughters. From the outside looking in, you would have thought, and everybody said, you're so lucky, like you're living this great life, like you have all these things. But inside, outside of my personal relationships with people, professionally, I was miserable. I was miserable because what I was doing didn't align with my purpose. And what it ended up causing me to do was just have burnout. I was working 14-hour days during COVID with my teams, 5 sites around the country. People are burnt out. They're tired. I'm in meetings 12 hours a day. The last 2 hours, I'm trying to give my manager some attention. I'm not showing up as a leader that I know I am, that I can be. I'm trying. I'm not showing up as a husband and a father that I can be. I'm trying. And I'm not showing up for myself at all. I'm not even trying to show up for me. And so what I have found is as I step into my life purpose of teaching people their history doesn't define their legacy and truly helping them heal from the traumas that will hold us all back if we don't face them. I have unlocked this happiness inside of me that wouldn't have came with doing anything else. So if you're watching now, if you're going to watch the replay, take some time and sit quietly and think about what your purpose is, what your passion is, because the things, the money, how we define success as a society is false. Joy, happiness, healing, and servant and a service of others is truly where life's happiness really is.
Yeah, and you can't put a price on all of those things too. I mean, an act of kindness, let's just say for an example, you can go out tomorrow and you can just maybe donate some food or maybe donate your time, which is free as well. These are some of the things that you can do and take action on, and you don't receive a paycheck for it. I think there's a song, I listen to rap, and Big Sean says it. He goes, the most important work that you can do is on yourself, even if you don't get paid for it. When I heard that, I was like, man, this song is fire. That verse is fire, but it's just so true as well. And now here's the last thing as well that we're going to post on the screen. Just talk, what about what this picture means to you.
You went about that. Yeah.
You said the jokester, right? There it is.
Oh, man. So that was in corporate America. It was July 4th week. We were doing some festivities, and one of my leaders had these belts on his desk, and he would give them out every single week. So because I just love to have a good time, I walked around just spreading joy and cheer, and I'm messing with the managers, and I'm like, Gabe, what'd you say about that one client? And he's like, I was like, it doesn't matter what you said. I challenged channel my inner rock. And oh Lord, let me tell you. And then they bantered back, and it was just so much fun. And here's my philosophy: whether it's for you in your home, whether it's for you or in your home or at work, we all want to create a culture and environment that we just want to be in. When you want to be in your environment, maybe that's what's in your heart and your soul, that you need to get rid of them traumas that are holding you back, and you need to replace that with love. Or maybe that's in your relationships that are struggling, that you need to work on you so your relationships can be more fruitful. Or maybe it's in corporate America, like where we had a 26% attrition rate, people quitting. 26% of people would quit in the first 6 months after a year of me being there. And it wasn't just me. People had to get into the program that we were building there. We had 5%. People were denying promotions to other departments to make more money because they love the culture. So you've got to live, breathe, and be part of and help build a culture for yourself, with your family, at work, that people can thrive in. But it all starts right here. It all starts right here.
Yeah, 1000%, man. And once you clean up everything on the inside world, you will start to see the changes go on in your outer world. And I'm huge on that. So, Walt, we're halfway through the episode and we have to play a few commercials from a few sponsors of the show. But when we come back, we're going to really dive deep into your story and kind of, what different things mean to you, like definitions, or just some of the lessons and values that you've learned throughout your time. So don't go anywhere. Make sure you're sharing this, like it, whatever you got to do, just spread the word, because we're coming here bringing you the best content on the internet, and I promise you that. So don't go anywhere. And this commercial that you're about to see, it's very special to me because, number one, I'm gonna be honest, it's a shameless plug. I made it, but it's just so impactful just to see some of the organizations that are going out there and just really changing the lives of everybody for the people that need it. So don't go anywhere. Share this content, and we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Hi everyone, Jeanette Ramos here, CEO and President of It Takes a Village Housing. It Takes a Village Housing is a nonprofit organization that houses women who have been affected by drug and alcohol use while having their children live in transitional housing. Services to include drug treatment, mentoring, counseling for the kids, parenting. We set them up with employment. We help them get everything that they need to get them out into the community. Go to our website, ittakesavillage1.org, and donate. Donate whatever your heart desires, and let's change families one at a time.
Except I received this insight about a title called Prisoner of War. The book.
So everybody, that was the commercials. If you're interested in having one done for your business, or if you're interested in coming on the Weekly Dose of Dano platform, reach out to me right here, doseofdano@gmail.com, and that is my shameless plug. My guy, Walt, it's time to come back onto the show, man. Thank you so much again for sharing your story, just being so transparent and sharing an hour every time with everybody as well. So this is going to be a big question, because I think when a lot of people hear purpose, we kind of know what it means, but we all have our own different definition. And even if you hear about it, I know for me a few years ago, if you were to talk to me about that, I wouldn't know what the first thing about purpose is. Can you talk about, maybe it might have been a series of events leading to it, or maybe you just had that aha moment, but can you talk about when, your purpose became very clear to you?
Yeah, I think it's a couple different moments that we discussed a little bit already. So, when I was 16 and I testified against my father in court, to your point, you don't know your purpose. I lived my life surviving. There was no purpose and intent behind any action that I took other than to make it through the day. And so as I grew and started to figure out what love looked like, my Aunt Diana really rescued me from the environment that I lived in and taught me how to just love, how to even have physical affection and give a hug. You still don't know what your purpose is because you're just growing and trying to figure out who you are at that point. I think when I first met my wife, she started to give me more purpose. My life became more or less about just me and more about somebody else at that point. When I had my children completed the puzzle pieces of my humanity, and I genuinely mean that. They changed me as a human being, and they gave me that purpose. when I met that young lady that I talked about a little while ago in the Navy, that I helped save her life, I learned the purpose of my story and all the growth that I had. When I had my breakdown in corporate America, it showed me my purpose was never to get the things. My purpose was never to just climb the corporate ladder. Although, like I said, the success was there, the result, the inner feelings that I had, I was empty. I was dead inside. I had so much apathy at that point for like what my life was doing. And for me, God told me at that point, I'm kicking this door down. I'm full boot kicking the door down in front of me and trying to bust it open. And it's not opening. But if I would have just pulled my head out of the sand and realized at some point, this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. This feeling of tumultuousness, this feeling of angst that I'm always in at this point is telling me. So if you're out there listening, listen to this part. It's telling me this is not my purpose. It's not what I'm supposed to do. But I still had to grow, and I had to have my breakdown in order for me to step into my purpose and leave 80% of my income and go on this journey that I'm on right now. So for me, the breakdown was truly the culmination of an entire lifetime of events that said, go down the door that's open at the end of the hall. That's where your purpose is at. That's where you're supposed to be. And I will tell you, since then, and I launched my book in February. I have #1 best-selling book, sold over 1,000 copies. I've helped so many people. I'm speaking literally globally. I'm being blessed to be able to come on amazing podcasts and shows like this, Dano. So thank you so much for having me on it. The people that I've met and I've been around, the people that I've helped, more importantly, though, it's not about me helping somebody. It's about the people that have decided not to be a victim, not to wallow in the self-pity, not to be scared of the fear of the unknown of what healing is going to bring. They believe the light, abundance, joy, and love for themselves is waiting for them on the other side of that effort and work and choice to do it. But now they're teaching other people to do the same thing. That is purpose, because purpose is always about something bigger than you. So for me, those are the events that led me to like stepping into this purpose. And now I'm so happy, bro. Like it's so much fun, man.
I can see it. Yeah, just by the way that you're speaking with so much passion and a huge smile on your face. Now, I'm all about the tangibles and what we can do tomorrow in order to make that step to feel good. So let's talk about that story, because I think you kind of built it up and you said it was when I made that point and then there was a gap and you're like, now I'm just feeling so great. But once you made that point, what was the first step, or what was the first thing that you did in order to flip the script?
Yeah, so when I had my breakdown, my wife and I really sat and talked. And I'm so blessed to have her as my spouse, because her support is everything. She didn't work. She supported my whole career, because think 20 years in the military, we moved a lot and had little kids and all that stuff. So we got to this point and she goes, if you die, because I felt like I was having a heart attack. She goes, if you die, I'm going to sell everything. Nothing matters. I want you to be here. I begged you to write a book for 10 years. You wanted to be a speaker for over 2 decades. Screw it. Let's just freaking go for it. So we left 80% of that income on the table to step into what we're doing now. And part of what she asked me, she goes, how did you really heal yourself? And I thought, I don't really know. Like I'm gonna have to give that some thought. And that's a loaded question right there, right? I'm like, how did I do it? Right. So I started really just sitting in meditation and quiet. I knew for one thing, and I say this is why I wear a warrior shirt, guys. I'm not a victim. I'm not a survivor. I didn't just make it. I'm a warrior. I'm powerful. My story is powerful. My spirit is unbreakable. Those of you guys and all of us got a story. All those things that you've made it through, you are a warrior just like me. You just have to see yourself as such. And so I knew I had that attitude, and I had to sit and think. And so I really thought about culminating points in my life that allowed me to pivot and change, that allowed me massive healing and propelled me forward. And then how I started to use my journey and the pain and the abuse that I went through as rocket fuel for everything that I do. And so I came up with the 4 keys to living an extraordinary life. And that's what I teach people now, bro. It's been the biggest blessing, because it is what I lived through, and it's what I know other people live through that maybe haven't done that healing work. And honestly, a lot of times don't know how.
Yeah, well, you can't just say the four keys and not give it to us. I mean, you don't have to go in extreme detail and list it one by one, because I know that's something that you offer and something that's, of value and you'd love to share with everybody. But would you just be able to name those 4 points really quickly?
Yeah, I think number one, speak your truth. The power in your story and what you remove in shame and embarrassment and hurt and pain and hatred that we all carry. When you speak your truth, there is nothing more healing than that moment. It is like you remove all these things and you can replace that empty space with love. You got to accept your trauma for what it is. Losing a parent, child, abuse, car accident, it doesn't matter what it is. It happened. You can't change it. You have to accept it. You can't push it down. And then for me, the next hardest piece was acknowledging the emotions that came with it, of that hurt little boy, of that young man that was still in a lot of pain. And when I acknowledge those emotions, it allowed me to move to that next phase that I teach people, and that's forgiveness. And what I realized is forgiveness was never about letting somebody off the hook. Forgiveness was always about me taking the pain out that was poisoning my soul. What I realized is every one of my abusers were abused themselves. Hurt people hurt people. It doesn't make it okay. It just is. And that's why it's generational. When I realized that, it gave me empathy, but it made me realize even more that I had to let go of that kind of that hatred that I had for some of them. I mean, visceral hatred that I had for some of them, and that pain that I held for them in my heart, so that I can be the best husband and spouse and friend and warrior that I was meant to be. And the last thing I teach people is exposing your superpowers. Here's what people don't realize. Ooh, Dano, I love this part. When I watch people and I walk them through the healing process, I give them the tools and they get to this point where they've done the healing. They realize how much empathy and compassion and grit and determination and integrity and like their level of work ethic and how much they gained from the trauma they went through. So I can sit here today and say, I'm actually thankful for what I went through, as horrific as it was, because it's made me the man I am today, because I show up in life the way that I do. And I wouldn't be able to do it even if one tiny piece of my story was missing at the level that I do it at today. So it's all about those things. And those things for me spell safe.
Yeah.
And it's part of, and it keeps you safe, right? It's that trauma ladder. You got to get out of that pit of despair.
Yeah.
Use these tools, climb out to that light and abundance that you deserve, that is waiting for you if you choose to stop being a victim and start being a warrior. It really is that massive of a life change when you're ready to do it.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say, if you didn't hear what Walt just said, I'm going to say it even louder. Make that decision right now to step into that light and abundance and change that victim mindset, because nothing good comes from that. I mean, the only thing that could really come from that is when you're in that, you see the contrast in it. You see what you don't want to become. So not everything, is about positive and negative. I mean, we need to go through those things in order to experience what we do want into this life. But listen up, because Walt is speaking some major facts right now. And don't think that this is Walt's story. I mean, yes, it is Walt's story, but you got to look at all the lessons and all the golden nuggets that he's dropping, because all of this stuff can be implemented into your life. But all you have to do is make that decision. And if you're just so confused to think, hey, where can I start? I mean, Walt's just literally told you where you can start. It all starts within yourself. But, there's meditations that you can do. You mentioned about sitting in silence. Listening to some positive affirmations. If you don't like to sit in silence, you're not comfortable with doing that, or maybe you don't have the time, if you have, kids running around, or whatever it may be, there's positive affirmations that you can listen to. So if you're driving on the way to work, or if you're listening to music in the gym on the Stairmaster, make that swap to say, okay, well, let me just play some positive affirmations to see how I could, implement my life and make it seep down into the subconscious so it can be revealed into our reality. I mean, there's so many things that you can do. And thank you, Walt, for coming on and actually sharing it. Now, we had this conversation yesterday, so I'm kind of cheating a little bit. But you said that, obviously you're human, and some of these things start to come back in your life, whether it may be triggers or there's an event or something that happens to you that, makes you feel a negative emotion. Now, while that is very crucial into our everyday life, because not everything's going to be positive, let's be realistic. What are some of the techniques that you do in order to center yourself and to come back to that, that clear headspace?
I'll give you a great example of this the other day. So now I've done all this work, right? I like to think I'm in control of those emotions. I'm emotionally pretty aware. It's taken a lot of work for me to get here. But I had somebody who just is in a lot of pain. And they came at me and they started sending me some texts where they're like, you're this and F you this and F you that. And like, this was somebody that I was close with. So it hit me out of nowhere. What I didn't realize is they relapsed on alcohol and they were drunk. But in that immediate moment, my hands started shaking. I'm like, this boy, like you play with me. I was like, you wouldn't be talking to me like this in person. And and I said, you know what? I don't do these kind of conversations over text. You want to call me and give me a call? He's like, I'm not gonna. And he kept on and kept on and kept on. And you know what I thought to myself? I said, why is this happening for me? And here's a huge one, guys. Why is this happening for me right now? So I was triggered. I wanted to react, but it was happening for me so that I can challenge myself to respond in a way that will allow me to elevate my life forward. Because people are going to challenge me along this journey that I've been on. People are going to say, oh yeah, you're not a victim or survivor. That's bullshit. You know, that's easy for you to say, you know, you're this, you're that. People have already hated, but I can't put my time and investment into those people. All I could do is love them and be there when they're ready to actually make the decision to change and get out of that victim mentality. So every time you get triggered, ask, why is this happening for me? What is my lesson to take away from here? And you might have to set boundaries. I set some boundaries after that, right? You might have to set boundaries, but why is this happening for me? In that moment, it was for me to be challenged to respond versus react. And because I have not been tested that way in a long time. And it was, and you don't know sometimes till you get in the heat of that battle. And so when you start asking yourselves those questions, and this is important too, and I want to say this, Dano, too, but to make sure before we have time for this. When did society get so afraid of the darkness, right? Like growth happens in the darkness. Beautiful things happen in the darkness. I met so many people that are so scared of even unpacking what's happened for them because they think it happens to them, that they literally live half in their capacity of what they could do in their life, even though their want to live at full capacity is magnificently there. When you make that decision to step into that dark place, but you do it in a community of people like we're in right now, what you find is strength, but more importantly, what you find is belief, because I can't drive the car through the dark tunnel for you. What I can do is give you the directions. What I can do is be there with other warriors just like me who've walked the journey that you're on. So embrace the darkness, embrace the triggers, embrace those moments when you're being challenged. Take a step back, take a breath, even if it's one of those breaths like, whoa, take a breath and say, why is this happening for me? What am I supposed to learn? Let me respond versus react to this thing that has me triggered, because there's a piece of this inside of me that I still need to do some healing work on. And it will transform your life almost immediately. Almost immediately.
And even just the word respond versus react. I feel like when you respond, you're in that victim. I mean, you're basing your emotion and your action when you respond or when you react off to somebody, you know, and that's you're the afterthought, or you're the thing that's not in control. But when you respond, you start to take that dominance and you start to make the control to say, okay, this is my intention. This is what I want to happen in this situation. And you just make sure that, you know, you have the power. So I agree with you 1000%. And I believe that words do hold a big piece of our legacy and our journey and how we go about our everyday lives. I mean, if you think that every day that, you know, you're the man and you're a master at what you do, everything that you know, with that positive self-talk, you are going to act in accordance to that. And there's a quote to sum this up. It just goes, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. So if you think you can do it, you're right. And if you think you can't do it, then you're right as well, because you're just going to have that limiting belief. And I just want to talk about the question that you just asked before right there. And I can give my perspective on it, and I want you to give yours on it as well, since you are just a little bit older than I am.
A little bit.
Just a little bit. So you said, when did this start happening about, you know, people being so afraid of stepping into their darkness? And for me, I think that's a very important question, because I think that in my perspective, I was around the time where, you know, technology was just starting off and dial-up internet was all going about. So I think social media has a huge role in that as well, because what happens, what people do on social media nowadays. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I edit, some of my videos too to make sure that they're better. I don't say and all this other stuff. But with social media, we put it into the light where everything has to be perfect, where people are driving the best cars, or they're hanging around a lot of women, or they're hanging around a lot of dudes, whatever it may be. They want you to see it only from this lens. And I think that when people don't see it from that lens and they start to say, hey, well, you happen to have a mark on your face that, your picture on your profile didn't show, or whatever flaw that they can find, I think, number one, people start to attack it. So I think we start to get a little bit of afraid. But I think with the addition of social media and everything having to be so perfect is how, from my perspective and for people my age, I think that's when the disconnect and the embarrassment and the darkness of having that fear to step into it, I think that's where it came from. But do you have any ideas or why people are afraid?
Yeah, I think fear of judgment's real. I don't care who you are. But when you start to realize that the people that are judging you, you ever heard somebody win and judge somebody? Somebody really win and they're happy, life's good, things are going their way. You don't hear them judge nobody. They're happy, they're excited, they're celebrating other people's wins. The people that are struggling and suffering the most are the ones that pass the most judgment. And when we realize that, we realize no matter if you did good or bad, they're going to judge you or have something to say, because it has to do with everything with how they're feeling. Like I said before, hurt people hurt other people. I also feel like we live in this society, like you said, social media, for all the blessings it can bring, it also can bring a ton of negativity. You got people literally taking pictures inside of private jets, and there's companies that will allow them to do it for a fee, and they ain't even never been in the jet other than to take the picture. They didn't take off, they didn't do nothing, right? But this falsehood, and you talked about we talked about living in authenticity and being vulnerable, and you asked at the beginning, the transparency to say, hey, I'm not perfect, I have struggles, life's gonna throw me curveballs, but it's, do I swing and hit it the next time? And if we stop worrying about the judgment of other people, and we start loving ourselves enough, and we stop comparing what we see on the internet to how our lives are, to your point, it's all edited, it's all BS, and comparison is a thief of joy anyway. You don't know their journey or even if they're happy. And we start living in our own journey, we start loving our own journey, and we start making it about service to others, not just ourselves. We absolutely will transform our society. People got to stop living in quiet desperation and wearing masks every day. And by the way, I can say that because I did for a long time. And I know what it felt like when I took it off. I put it away, I broke it, I never used it again. And I just live in as Walt McKinley for the world to see, the good, the bad, the ugly, the growth, the wins, the losses, the lessons, the everything. And I am happier now because of it than I've ever been in my life. And I want people to feel that happiness, Daniel. Like, I just want to shake it off.
Yeah, you just do. Why are you wallowing, or why are you thinking this way? And I think some people. I had this discussion with my, kind of like my mentor now. He just told me, he goes, yes, some people just aren't meant to wake up in this world as well. But everything that you can do to help, spread the seeds or help them achieve that next level of mastery, that's what you got to do in your power. You can only control what you can control as well. So, and it may sound like it's all easy, which is not, as we all know, because with all great things, that takes time. But just what I can just recommend to you right now is, please start to be mindful of your thoughts. Like, if you start to consciously see yourself thinking down a certain path, whether it is positive or negative, just start to be mindful of it. Because if you're mindful that you are starting to think more positive, then that's a good thing. Then go follow down that path. But if you start to go down that path and say, oh, well, I didn't like that thought, or I'm not liking how I'm feeling right now, stop, recognize the thoughts that you're doing, and don't fight it, or don't just try to, because you're only human. But start to guide yourself gently back to the right path that you do want to think on. So Walt, we only have a few minutes left, and we always wrap up the show with the same question. So here we go as well. Ready for it? I know you're ready for it. Let's
go.
So if there's somebody right now that is in their deepest, darkest moments, and they're watching this, and they don't see a way out, what advice do you have to give to them?
Be vulnerable and seek help. I know we're coming to a close. I want to tell this little bit of a story.
Mhm.
I just did a speaking engagement in Denver about a month ago. And I love generating emotion, right? I can see people crying. We're talking about choices and embracing and running through the fear. And towards the end of all these speeches that I do, I kind of culminated. I said, if you or anybody you know has been physically, sexually, emotionally abused, mentally abused, been with a narcissist, all these traumas, right? Stand up. There's over 100 people in there. Everybody stands up. All the speakers stand up. And I tell them, I said, look around. I said, the next time you feel alone, because we've all felt alone. We've all felt like nobody would understand. And the next time you're feeling that way, I want you to imprint this moment into your brain. There's not one person sitting down, not one. And then we spoke some affirmations and power into the person next to them. Then we spoke some affirmations into ourselves. And I got to tell you, even if you don't feel like it, you're loved, you matter, you're not alone, it's not your fault. And you can have the freedom that your heart wants to rip itself out of its chest and achieve, and your soul is yearning for, if you're willing to make the choice today to do the work. But nobody can do it for you. You've got to be able to do the work. And even though I can't do it for you, I can walk right alongside you and show you how. And then it's up to you to make the choice to go achieve it and believe it and then teach it to somebody else, because it's not just about me. It's not just about you. It's about us creating a community. And more importantly, it's about us creating a community focused on a movement of change. We got to do something to change our humanity. Somebody's not waiting for Dano's story. Somebody's not waiting for my story. They might think we're cool and it's, oh, you guys are great.
Yeah.
Somebody might be waiting for Jeanette's story. Somebody might be waiting for Lou's story. Somebody might be waiting for David's story. And your story might be the thing that literally, it will be the thing that saves somebody else's life, because you chose to love you enough to do the freaking work. So stop waiting for your life to come to you and go out there and get it.
Man, are y'all listening to that? Stop waiting to go make that push right now. Stop playing around. It's time to level up and get to that next point in our life. So whatever you're doing right now, damn, I need you to just drop some fires. I mean, look, you already got some right here. Well, you are absolutely killing it. But on a serious note, we're always serious, but man, that is just so authentic and so true. But please, if you're watching, it doesn't sound good because it sounds good. It sounds good because it's true. And anything that you could possibly do, anything that you could possibly want in this life will happen to you. But you have to make that decision today and stop putting it off, man. Stop saying, yo, I'm going to do it tomorrow, or I don't got time right now. No, you do have time right now. So make sure that you are prioritizing yourself, your mental health, and because you need to help other people. I mean, we just said that.
Yeah.
You just spoke to my soul right there. So Walt, thank you again for coming on. Walt, I'm just going to drop a couple of your connectors as well. Where can people reach out to you, and what can they expect when they do reach out to you?
Yeah, so best way to reach out to me is go to www.waltmckinley.com. It's as easy as that. All my social links are on there. My master classes are on there. My book, Monsters in My House, A True Story, is on there. You can also go to Amazon and Barnes & Noble and get that. I talk about the 4 keys to living an extraordinary life at the end of my book. So when somebody's inspired by my story, they'll turn around and get the tools to make their story something that gives somebody else the belief that can change their life too. So just go to waltmckinley.com. There's tons of stuff on there. You can go or Google me. I'm there too. And I'm looking forward to seeing each and every single one of you, even those that weren't here today that will watch the replay. And Dano, man, I just love your spirit, bro. It is infectious in the most best way. Just the power of positivity, the power to be able to say, you know what? I'm going to live this life because it's happening for me, and everything is a lesson, and everything is a piece of my journey. And how can I build a positivity posse that can go out and change the world long after I'm gone? That's the kind of legacy we're all hoping to leave, and you're doing it, brother. So I know we just met a few days ago, but I'm proud of you. I'm happy that we're part of the same family and same tribe, and I'm excited to welcome you guys all to the Warrior Nation. So let's go.
Let's go, man. Let's go is right. So thank you all again. Like I said, you were so on point today. Thank you so much for being, sharing your golden nuggets, being so transparent, and making sure that everybody else is okay. But I'm going to leave you with one more thing too as well. I'm just going to give an analogy. You can't help sick people if you're sick yourself, or you can't help poor people if you're poor yourself. So make sure that you're doing the work to elevate, and make sure you get to where you're going to go so that you can help bring other people up. And I'm telling you, that effect will change the world, whether it's the generational curses that you will break in your family or your friends that you're going to be hanging around with. They can just spread it to their friends, and it's just going to go exponentially to greater things than we can ever imagine. So thank you so much for sharing an hour of your time, Walt. You are the man. You really put some fire in today, like you always do. And I knew it was going to happen today. So thank you for coming on. Next week, we have Michael Laria coming on the show. He's all the way from Australia. So we're going back to Australia. I think this is the third time that we're going to be going over there. So come back next week for that. He's going to be talking about, men and their mental health, and why maybe a little bit more, this is just going to be awesome, great content. So make sure you're sharing this, like it. I hope you guys have a great weekend. And listen, guys, go show Walt some love, because he spoke some facts today. So I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week for another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano. Peace.